Seriously though, what I really would like to trace our journey today is that from pathways, what's not to like about it, to pathways, what's not to like about it. Are you ready about it? Ready for it? Ready. Toastmaster evening, Kim and fellow Toastmasters. Change is the only constant in life, the Greek philosopher once said. Yet we human beings find change, we are so immune to change, to adopt. And the recent example of pathways is a case in point. So when we think about pathways, what's not to like about it? There are many things that we can think of. But some issues that I'm going to list here would really point out. First, elimination of good old CC and CL. Second, there are too many paths to choose from. Third, there's a drastic transition from these current old manual styles to new pathways. And the last, but not the least, and perhaps just one of them, it's very confusing. And these are just acronyms I'm using which are probably minor or normal, and I'm sure you might think about it. So let's look at it from change management perspective and look at each of these issues together. So the first one is elimination of good old CC and CL. Honestly speaking, it's not the elimination of these old manuals, but the messaging surrounding pathways that has been missing, which I will clarify. So in old manual, you have CC title or CL title. Some of you may have CAC and CL both titles. So you learn communication and leadership as separate tracks. Whereas in pathways, in a broad sense, communication and leaderships are, you learn them in an intertwined manner, not as separate. So it's like CC and CL are either single or they're in a relationship. Whereas in pathways, they're married to each other. And maybe that's why when it comes to pathways, when it comes to adopting pathways, many of us are getting cold feet. Seriously though, if you look at it, pathways offer 5 core competencies: public speaking, interpersonal communication, strategic leadership, management, and confidence. So confidence is not something that you learn, but it's a skill that you acquire as you go on the path. Public speaking, if you're not building this skill as a part of Toastmasters, then you have joined the wrong organization. That boils down to 3 other competencies that we need to talk about. What I'm going to show you next is the numbers which are next to each path. Right now, I just would like you to focus on the numbers and not on the paths themselves. The numbers here, and as you can see, the number 1 and number 5 is next to each and every path. Whereas the other numbers, 2, 3, 4, are interspersed across the paths. So that's how you kind of acquire those codes. But before I move on, 2 questions. Did you all get those pamphlets that I sent? And second question is, can you all hear me okay?
Yes.
Just let me know if you can't hear me, I'll just try to be loud. So the second issue with pathways is that we have too many paths to choose from. And obviously we all love default options. I mean, when it comes to signing up for a 401k, we go for default options. We don't even think about it as a crucial decision as it is. So how can it be different for pathways? But there is help. There is a way out. You can do this by, I missed one of the statements there. There are many paths to choose from, and as you can see, there can be overwhelming to choose from when you have all of these. But there is a help here, and I'm going to show you how to do that. When you sign up on Toastmasters International for the first time, when you log in, you can go through an initial assessment, and there are two ways to do that. One, you can choose your path by clicking on this button here, or when you open the Basecamp, there is a dedicated option here to choose the path. And you don't have to take notes right now. If you guys want, I can send all these slides in a PDF format as well. So when you do this selection, it opens up another window where you need to select whether you want to go either online or the printed material. And I'll go through that part as well. But for now, let's focus only on how to choose a path for yourself. You click on this continue button here, and then it opens an initial assessment, which asks you a series of 25 questions. And these are all personal and professional questions that you should answer to the best of your abilities towards the goals that you want to achieve, considering your core competencies or other competencies that you have. And at the end of this assessment, the system would recommend you 3 paths. Now, you can go through each of those paths individually, or you can also go through other paths if you are up for it and choose the appropriate path for yourself. If not, you can go with default options. That's perfectly fine. Now, I would like to pause here and add that when you have these 3 recommended paths, there is no wrong answer per se. There are 2 reasons for it. One, you have 30 days to change your path from the moment you sign up for the first time. Now, 30 days might not be enough. So there's another reason that I'm going to talk in more detail shortly, but just to give an idea, the path that you select is based on the questions that you answered and the competencies that you're expecting for yourself to improve upon. It's different than not just core competencies, but the additional competencies. For example, networking, for example, additional leadership skills, change management, and so on. So even if you do select a particular path, you can develop additional competencies via selecting problems. And we are going to dive deep into that to understand well. So the short answer is, don't fret over it, there is a help. Third is drastic transition from CC and CL manual. Now, before we answer this question, I would like to say that in the beginning I said that change is only constant in life. But are we really so immune to change? I mean, look at the political affiliations of our presidents for the last 45 years. It's always alternated between Republicans and Democrats. So we are not that immune to change. Or ask those women out there, when they go out, they change their clothes so often. So, and before we can make that decision now, let's look at what Pathways is all about. What's the philosophy behind it? Unless we understand what it is, we cannot compare with the old manual and then decide whether it's dramatic change or not, right? So, I'm going to start with an acronym called PLP. The P stands for path. It's a journey that you're going to take towards your professional or personal goals. And L stands for levels, and P stands for projects. PLP. Path, levels, projects. Come on, repeat after me. Path, levels, projects. Now, these are not some, cumbersome words that you're going to understand. I'm going to define them. You already know what path. Levels. Levels are stepping stones of the path. Levels are stepping stones of the path. Repeat after me. Levels are stepping stones of the path. Yeah, it's much more fun when you're talking, right? Projects. Projects are smallest building block of the path. Projects are smallest building block of the path. Good. All right. What is levels? Levels, when I think about levels, the analogy that I can give you is a staircase. In staircase, you have different steps. For example, first step in these pathways is must be fundamental, second is learning the style, third is increasing your knowledge, building skills, and then demonstrating experience. It's a staircase, and each level is a step. Now let me ask you this. Can you, when you're on the staircase, can you go from first step to the fourth step?
Without breaking a leg.
Not without breaking a leg. But if you are already at step 3, and then you want to go to level step 4, is it possible? Is it easy? Sure it is. Same thing is with levels. All these levels are built from each other in an increasing complexity. So level 1 is kind of a foundational level, and then it builds on top of it. What's projects? As I said, project is the smallest building block of a path. So what does it mean? Where does the speech comes into view? What are the differences? So think of a project as a module at the end of which you would develop a certain competency. And that competency would contribute towards those core competencies. Does it make sense? Let me give an example here. So the first path is same for all. The first level is same for all paths, irrespective of what path you choose. The first level is the same. So the project, let's look at the project evaluation and feedback. In evaluation and feedback, you do a first speech, and you will get feedback from the evaluator. And one of the feedback could be that you are not using the stage well, for example. You would give the second speech of your choice, but try to incorporate that particular feedback. There could be additional feedbacks that you want to incorporate, but at least try one feedback from your previous project or previous speech that you can try to incorporate in the next one. And when you do these two things, the third component is to evaluate another member of your club. So that completes the project. So that is a competency that you get as part of that. So that's just an example. And as I said, 3 projects are same in level 1 for each path. There's one project in level 2, Introduction to Mentoring. There's a lot of emphasis in Toastmasters on mentoring. And that can be seen reflected in pathways as well. And then there are 2 required projects. So each level has 1 required project and some electives. So in together, you have 14 projects, minimum of 14 projects that you need to complete as a part of the path. And that could lead to 15 speeches, minimum of 15 speeches. So as you can see, there's a difference between speech and the project. Think of, in pathways, think of everything as project, speech. And speeches, the competencies that you develop would be part of it. Let's now that we know what pathways is, what the basic foundational blocks are, I'm here kind of crudely comparing the old manual versus the pathway. And you can see that the first 4 speeches have some similarity to the projects in level 1. 4 projects from CC manual are exactly, if not similar to the projects in pathways. Of course, you will probably execute only 2 of them, but still 60% of CC manual is still available in pathways. There are 2 more projects, 2 more speeches from the old manual are available specifically in presentation mastery. So if you select your path to be presentation mastery, you can cover almost 80% of CC. So is it that drastic from CC manual, CL manual? No. The last, but not the least, and probably the biggest bottleneck I would say, is the website. And I'm sure probably you are waiting for this. Yeah. Remember I was telling you CC and CL are married in pathways? Guess what? now they have a child. Just like a child, it's a little clumsy to deal with, and we have to manage our own emotions and we have to really work on them to make better versions of themselves. And to tell you the truth, the TR has really worked on a lot of issues so far, and it's already it's better. But the point I would like to make here again is that, and I would bring an attention to my own professional background here. I'm working with international clients, and I have visited different countries as part of my job, as well as done my education in different countries. And what Pathways has been offering, the competencies that Pathways has been offering, I have not seen even in professional settings. So we should feel privileged that Toastmasters has adopted those competencies so early. Of course, there are these challenges that I'm going to talk about, but those are only going to help us to improve. Okay, let's begin. And before we begin, I'm going to give a few more definitions that are really critical to understand. The first is base camp. Base camp. Everything resides in the base camp. Come on, repeat after me.
Everything resides in the base camp.
Everything resides in the base camp. Great. Now, when you have a base camp, obviously you would have a base camp manager. The base camp manager is, VP is the base camp manager, so is the secretary and president. Okay, I know it's a long, but repeat after me. VP is the base camp manager, so is the secretary and president. So what it means is that, although VP is the primary person who manages the base camp, there is a help. They can always delegate certain tasks if needed. And we'll talk more about that as we go. The last definition, but not the list. Project begins and ends with the assessment. Repeat after me.
Project begins and ends with the assessment.
I want you to remember this because this is going to come handy when we demonstrate the website. So you log in onto the TR website like normally you would do. There are two ways to access the base camp. The easiest way is that once you log in, you click on your name there. You just click on that name, and then it will pop up another window where you would see your profile. And then there's a button here that you can see, and you can click on that base camp, and then it basically is. There is another way to do it. When you click on Pathways, right here, you can already see that there is a Go to Base Camp option. You can click on that as well. And that it will open this window. And you can click on Go to Base Camp. Now, the one thing I wanted to mention about Toastmasters International website, it's a little tricky. These options here, they don't just appear. You have to click on them. You have to really click on it to see those individual options there. It's a little bit of work when you start because you're so used to just hover your mouse. But in the Toastmasters International website, you have to really click on these things. Okay, so let's go to Basecamp. And this is what happens. When you see this window, obviously we are not technically savvy people, so you have no idea what to do. But when you click on this option here, it would give you a solution. If you laboriously follow that solution, it would help you. Absolutely. And I can demonstrate that if we have time today. I'll demonstrate that in detail. Another thing to do when you log in into Basecamp is to click on this check compatibility button. I'm going to again now give you one more tip, and it's important. I told you about TR website that you have to click on those individual options. Now I'm going to tell you that when you are in the Basecamp, you have to hover your mouse on Couldn't get more complicated. But the fact that you guys are laughing, that means you're going to remember this. So just hover your mouse on these buttons and then get the drop-down menu and check compatibility. For example, in check compatibility, you would see another option there, which you need to click, and it would open these different options. And I have specifically shown this one because from my experience, a lot of people are facing problems with pop-up blockers. I'm a big fan of Firefox. I'm not seeing that happening, but with Chrome, it always happens. So it's just again, there are instructions. If you rigorously follow them, it would unblock your computer. Again, this is a clean view of the compatibility and of the option that I was talking about. Well, so how do you access now path? You are in Basecamp, that's one way, but how do you access your path that you have selected from the initial assessment? Again, there are two ways. The preferable way that I find is that you can just click on this name here, and it will open your profile, and if you have enrolled in a pathway, you can directly go to your transcripts. Alternate way is that if you're in the Basecamp, which will open this window, and you can click on the education transcripts. Both ways are okay, whatever is comfortable. Again, I was just going to point out the reason I have this arrow is that this menu that I was talking about. You have to click on this button. You have to hover your mouse on this menu option to see the drop down. Okay, voila! Now that you have chosen a path, you are in the Basecamp, you are in your transcript, and now you want to navigate your path. Where do you start? So when you see your screen for the first time, this is how it should look like. You see 5 levels in here, the name of the path, and level 1, and you see activate button next to your iceberg. When you click on this button here, it would turn into launch button. This launch button, when you click on this launch button, it will open that pop-up. If for whatever reason that pop-up doesn't open, if you don't see it as a let's say another tab or another window, the reason must be that pop-up blocker we talked about. Okay, you have sorted all the technical issues, and now you are in launch. What will open is the project navigation window. Now, I personally prefer to go systematically by, let's say, clicking on begin and going to each options. If you want to be a little bit more adventurous, obviously you can look at the individual options here, what those options are, navigation, introduction, and what you can click on them individually and go there. That's perfectly fine as well. So the first is navigation. What you see here is kind of some description about each of these buttons that you see, about other screens that you will come across. It's just a kind of learning thing. And usually, once you are familiar with the first project, it gets easier as you go on. So first thing you probably see is the printing your project part. You can just click on this button here, and it will open up a PDF window that you can print for you. Easy read. Assessment. Remember what I said about the assessment? Project begins and ends with the assessment. This is the beginning part. It is absolutely essential to take this assessment. There'll be like a series of 5 questions. You just click on this next button and answer those questions to the best of your ability. And you have to click on submit. That's really important. So the before part is important. I cannot emphasize that. When you're doing all of these, when you finish your project, do your tasks that are assigned to you, obviously you have to do that. We can't do that for you. The evaluation part. It's also, the evaluation process has also been changed in Pathways. A little bit. I would say it has been standardized, and I'll talk about that. Then comes the project assessment after that. Once you complete your project, you come back to this navigation window and answer the after. Same questions, when you answer them, you will see your options next to each other. It is, again, I want to emphasize again here that it is absolutely essential to take the assessment after as well. Then only your project is complete. when you are done with this, you will see this congratulations window. The point here again, I want to emphasize, I know I've said it enough, but still want to say it. This appearance of this window does not mean that you have finished the project, but actually doing the work of the project and doing the assessment after the project is important. Then only you will see that project. It's a little bit of a work, but once you get used to that workflow, it becomes easy. I spoke about evaluation a bit. The evaluation has been standardized in Pathways. Of course, you still receive your written and oral evaluation that you always would, but sometimes we have some generic statements from the evaluator. That's why TI has kind of decided to look at it more carefully. And if you look at the resource here, you will see that the evaluator can see the proper statements, notes are there, it describes the project, and there's a space to put the general comments. And the general comments are also kind of like what you excelled at, what you want to work on, and what you can make yourself better at, basically. The second part is, the evaluation part is actually grading those different aspects of your speech. And you can see that project-specific part is also there, in addition to general topics that you look for, clarity and vocabulary. So that is a big change. And the third sheet here contains the description of what you can look for as an evaluator in the evaluating work. You complete the level and then you complete the path. Really systematic. So let's look at what's not like about Pathways. Old man, just 2 core competencies. And here we have 5 core competencies. Now we have 68 core generic competencies, whereas we have now more than 300 competencies that you can work on. You can decide what you want via elective projects. We have 2 separate tracks for communication and reading. We have 11 paths for in Pathways that you can choose from to your own personal. You have written feedback. In Pathways now you have additional feedback that you can give to your fellow club members. And we never really had badges which were kind of just based on each club, but now we can offer digital badges for their achievements. I'm going to take a stop here and open the platform for questions. I still have other topics, but this is a good point to burning questions regarding. But within the evaluation, there is a portion which is dedicated to specifically each project. So, for example, if one of the projects is to making networking connections, for example, there would be a description in the notes where it would say that the person has actually gone through networking events, and you are supposed to look at the description of that field.
Thank you.
The certificate will only come once EP will approve that, or?
Yes. So the question was, would the certificate come up only when the VP approves the request? The answer is yes. It will only pop up when the VP approves. But there have been some changes. So let's say you complete level 1 and you are itching to start level 2, and you haven't heard from the VP or secretary or president. You can still start level 2. Nowadays you can start level 2. But again, I would point out that I would go back to the core values of the Toastmasters, that is integrity, respect, service, and excellence. So the first aspect is integrity. So everything is you're doing it at your own pace. So when you do complete project, make sure that you have completed the project, you have completed the level, and then start.
It was not letting me go to the level 2. Like you started to launch the project for level 2 because my level 1 was not approved by me. For me, it was not allowed. I was a 6-month back.
Yes.
Okay.
It was 6 months ago. You could not do that. As I said, this is a recent change.
Oh.
I don't remember exactly when.
Okay.
There's a recent change that you can look at each individual projects. You can launch them, you can go through them, you can learn more about them. So kind of plan it yourself.
So this is from the perspective of somebody walking into their own path. So as an evaluator, do you need to know anything about pathways, or is that all paper? Or, like, if you are evaluating a speech, do you engage with someone else's path?
So the question you have is that as an evaluator, do you really need to know about path or the project when you walk in? So the answer is yes, you should, but the answer to those questions are in that evaluation form.
Okay, so,
So it is I would put the responsibility, the onus on the speaker to give that evaluation form to the respective evaluator and also to talk about it to the evaluator in advance.
okay.
On a related note, like, as the speaker, I've looked in there and it's, if I could have read it wrong, said that the evaluation could be done online, and I couldn't figure out how to do that. So I ended up printing out the evaluation, and then I bring it, and then I scan it in and I put it in that documents area, just so I kind of have it. But I wasn't sure, A, am I supposed to be storing the evaluations on there, or is that just for me? And B, is there a way that I could have sort of a more tree-friendly electronic way so that someone could type in an evaluation rather than handwrite it and then I take a picture of it?
Yeah, so the question is, do we really have to do the online version or the offline version? What's the best practice? What is mandatory? So the answer is, both practices are valid. You can print out the form and write it out, take the photo as you have been already doing and upload it to the website in the e-portfolio. I can show you that as well. Or you can fill it up online as well. And we can, again, additionally, if you are on FreeToast host and if you have tied your pathways, they have now, if the speaker chooses which path or project they're on, the evaluation form appears right there, which you can just download.
Yeah.
So that's another way to do it. So FreeToast host is another way to approach that. There's no right and wrong way. You can, as I said, you can do written feedback, take a photocopy, but it's a responsibility of the speaker that who should.
Just a follow-up to that, actually, when you say you can do it online, as a best practice, would the evaluator, is it good for an evaluator to be sitting with a computer doing evaluation online? How much does it help the person be engaged with the speaker to be listening for those, to come up with that constructive criticism? Because then if it's like multitasking.
Yeah, so that's a valid point. I mean, the question is how much is this valid to do online, and is it a good thing to do? Would it be helpful? The answer is, it's a personal preference. If you're comfortable filling it online and just sending it online, you don't have to do it during the meeting, but you can do it afterwards as well. Again, there are challenges that you might forget and you might have to do.
Yeah, my concern is more during the meeting, because
Right.
it's not so much a personal preference during the meeting, but also the preference of the speaker to want to make eye contact instead of
Hello,
someone's
welcome
like,
to my
even in a
Toastmasters
regular
Club,
work
Think and
meeting,
Speak.
that can be bothering when you're not having eye contact and so I
You
think-
can always type and then it will still be okay to take a photo. More questions? Okay, so we just have like 5 minutes now, and I'm going to go through some advanced topics here quickly if there are no more burning questions. Great. So let's deep dive into it. This is a question I always get asked: what are the options versus printed versus online? What are the advantages, for example? So, a couple of things I can mention is that not all paths are available in a printed way. There are only 5 paths that are available. So that's one drawback. Second drawback is some of the videos would not be accessible if you are on printed way. And you have to kind of rely on your VP to send the project completion before you can get it printed. And you would receive, if you are chosen printed material as your option, you would receive 3 shipments, depending upon which you are. Basecamp Manager. So this is obviously specific to VP, but I also believe that Secretary can also help them in a lot of ways. So the login is that if you are a Basecamp manager, you will see additional option here. As a login Basecamp engineer, you should go to Basecamp. Just click on it, you will see 3 options. When the member completes a level, you will see the pending request in your pending request option. Right now I'm none because I'm not VP or secretary. But this is where you can approve or deny the request. It is VPE's responsibility, Basecamp manager's responsibility to verify that all projects are completed. Maybe looking at your free toast or talking to the person. It's not enough to approve the request only in the Basecamp manager. You also need to submit the individual levels to Toastmasters, and I'm sure the officers who are present know that there is a button here where you need to submit the distribution. Both these steps are required. You can also see the member progress. Start clicking on this member progress for each of the members in your club. You can learn more about Basecamp by going through tutorials. For example, these tutorials are really user-friendly. You just click on them, the easy obvious, and you can. My feedback is something that is newly introduced in Packard, and I was talking that not just evaluators that can give the feedback to the speaker, but even individual club members can give the feedback to that person, online or offline. Here I have nice feedback from very she talked about my presentation skills. This is a good way because it always gets stored on your portfolio, so you don't need to worry about it. You can always request for feedback as well. It's not just one-way street. You, as a speaker, if you would like to hear from a particular club member or somebody else that you think that would be valuable to you, it's a learning experience. Badges. I was talking about digital badges. When you complete a particular level or a path, you get badges. As a club member, also you can give badges to individuals. That is also available. So there's a lot to do there online, and I would like you guys to really explore it. Speech evaluation, there was a question, how can I download it in an easy way? If you click on the speech evaluations, the individual project PDFs are available. When you click on the button, the new window will open and then you can download the individual PDFs. I wanted to bring your attention to ePortfolio as well. It is not required for you to upload anything, your evaluations or your speeches, but it is always a good practice to go to these folders, and I'm going to just quickly show you how I do it. Basically, when you click on My Documents, I've just created individual folders for levels and uploaded each evaluation for my own reference. When you go back and read about it, you can always learn a lot because you can't forget things. And there's a lot of information. And you can feel good about yourself as well. DTMing pathways. This is an advanced topic. I was just discussing with somebody just in the background. How do you get DTMing? Something has been changed, of course, but this chart here explains how to get DTMing. In summary, you need to complete 2 paths. You need to be a club officer for 12 months, any club officer. You need to be a district officer for 1 year. You need to be a club mentor or club coach. You need to be a club sponsor, or you need to have a speechcraft or run a speech program, and then it will open a detailed project for you. This is just a screenshot, it's the last one. When you complete a particular path, and then you start a new path and complete the 3rd level of that path, a new Distinguished Toastmaster project will automatically get added to your curriculum. If it doesn't, you can obviously talk to Toastmasters, but it's good. With that, I would like to thank you all for your attention.